Go.
Welcome to Not a Great Whisperer podcast. I'm your host, Katie Ray. I am joined by Kristi McCart today. She is a contestant on The Biggest Loser season. What season?
It's season 1 of the reboot on USA.
Oh, okay. Season 1 of the reboot on USA. I have to ask her for all the things I can say. Spoiler alert, there won't be one. So welcome to the show. Thank you for joining.
I'm excited to be here. It's my first podcast. You just took my podcast virginity.
I love popping people's podcast cherries. It makes me feel like I'm always number one in your heart.
You're going to be.
I know. You're welcome. Let your husband know.
Number one in my heart, not number one in my pants. Sorry.
No, I think we know you have a 1.5-year-old. So unless there's some immaculate thing happening there, but we don't know. We don't know. We'll find out when we hear about your journey. So let's talk about the show, but I want to kind of talk about how you started the journey of wanting to be on the show. And you're living in Tampa now, right? Or Riverview area.
We'll call it Tampa.
Yeah, but you're from Indiana.
I'm from Indiana.
Okay. So do you have a little twang to your voice, or is there like an accent?
So Hoosiers, that's people from Indiana for all the non-Hoosier people.
Seen the movie. Go on.
The basketball movie. We are not known for an accent. That actually makes us the best newscasters, are people from Indiana, because they're easy to listen to, because this is going to sound so dirty, I don't mean it, but we swallow the end of every word.
Oh, okay.
It's a real thing.
Okay,
so like we never pronunciate all the way to the very end. And, we just kind of swallow the end, and it's just an easy kind of flow.
Okay.
So no, that was a long way of saying no, I don't have a twang.
They don't swallow the end of words. That's the first time I've heard it. I love new things. You've made my day now. We're going to end the show now. It's done. It's over.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for being here. Indiana, moved to Riverview. You have your own firm, am I right?
I am. I am.
I
do.
I am.
One of my best friends and I, we worked together. I was her paralegal before I went to law school. Came back from law school. We worked together at a couple different firms. And I was 8 months pregnant. And we're like, we're not down with this anymore. Like, let's just do our own thing. And we're like, can we do it? Do it? I'm like, I'm literally about ready to birth a child. And let's just birth a business as well. And we're like, okay, this sounds like a great idea. So we did it.
How long did it take to start the business?
We got a place. We opened up shop like 30 days later.
Wow.
And yeah, it's been good ever since. And then I birthed the baby, and I took off for a couple of months to have my kid, and then came back, and I had him in a bassinet underneath my desk, and I rock him with my foot, and I'd be meeting with clients, and they had no idea I had a baby there.
Stop it.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. And then I was able to have the flexibility.
What
of
an awesome baby.
He's a pretty awesome. He's one of those babies that tricks you into having another one.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you will, and then you'll be like, damn it, I can't rock you under my desk. All these people.
My law partner said we're not allowed to do that anymore. So it was a one and done deal, because it was worked out really well. But for productivity,
we're not allowed. My law partner.
I'm also not allowed to have a baby this year. She says after going on The Biggest Loser and being gone, having a baby the year before, I get 1 day to have the baby if I get pregnant in 2020.
Okay, so you're tapped out of any time off.
Yeah.
I mean, there's rules. There's rules, and you just need to. Someone else is making them for you, but that's fine. Don't live your life fully for yourself, just for others.
I mean, I guess she has a point.
I know. She'll probably put on the calendar for about a year to have another one. That's fine. Just tell her to just pencil it in. It's fine.
Right.
Do people use pencils anymore on calendars?
Maybe. We don't.
Great. So The Biggest Loser, you were on. Oh, I would like to jump to the other reality TV show that you were almost on.
Yeah.
Where you met your husband, fell in love with your beautiful eyes.
Ugh, yeah. So I was a freshman in high school. No, I wasn't.
Oh, wow.
Let's take that out. That's creepy.
I'm a liar. Go on.
I'm a liar. I did not mean to lie. I was a freshman in college, and everyone would be like, oh my gosh, you have a really, this is where kind of the fat shaming started a little bit. Like, oh my God, you're so pretty for your size. And you'd be like, thanks for that backhanded
I hate that
compliment.
shit.
But I get it. I think it generally comes from a good place. Like, they want to pay you a compliment, but they don't know how to be like, oh my gosh, you're decent looking.
You're beautiful. It's not
You're not an ogre. You know what I mean? But they would say it with that twist of for your size. But people would say that to me. They're like, oh my gosh, you have a photogenic face. You're so photogenic. You should try out for the show called America's Next Top Model. And I'm like, I'm like $170. I would never be able to be on that show. Well, that season they came out and opened it and expanded it to plus size models because this was in 2006. And so I sent in a tape.
That's
and
so cool.
I recorded it on a handheld camera because it's before we had cameras on our phones.
Yes.
I sent it in and didn't think anything of it. And a month later, I was on MySpace. Let me date you that.
I think I would have been one of your top 8s, but go on.
You probably would have been my top 8. I mean, Tom from MySpace was in my top 8. And I was looking and it said, oh, there are new people in your network from your high school. And I click on it and there's this guy's picture and it said, America's Next Top Model, making dreams come true in his headline. Because if you remember MySpace, you can have your picture and a headline along with your favorite song of the week on your profile. And so I log in and I'm like, what's going on? So I sent him a message, totally using this guy at this point. And I'm like, hey, Tom, I see that you work for America's Next Top Model. That's so crazy. We went to the same high school. I just applied. Like, if you have any tips or tricks, let me know. I don't hear anything for like 3 days. And it's around Christmas. And I'm like, well, that was worthless.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to me. And then I randomly get a message a couple days later that says, hey, that's really cool. Let me see if I can find your tape in the thousands of bins that we have of audition tapes. Okay. So we just start talking.
How cool.
And I get a call back and they're like, yeah, we want to see you in Chicago. I'm like, okay. So
where were you living then?
I was in Northeast Indiana. So like 2 hours from Chicago. And I go on my spring break. And at this point, Tom and I had been messaging back and forth, and like we were kind of flirting, but not like anything crazy or whatever. And he's like, I'm going to be at Chicago, so maybe we'll finally meet there. And I'm like, okay, great. But he wasn't like my casting person. He was just like off on the side doing his casting on his own. Well, last minute, he gets thrown off to the casting call in Boston, so we never meet. I go to the audition. Like, I see the casting people. Like, they're like, oh, great, we love you, blah, blah, blah. And then the next week, I'm like, I want to see you. Like, I want to meet you. And he's like, okay. And I didn't tell anybody where I was going except for my roommates. I didn't tell my mom. I told my mom I was going home for Easter with one of my roommates. And I hopped on a plane and I flew out to LAX with a dream and a cardigan like Miley Cyrus. And I met this weird random guy that went to my high school. Supposedly he was 10 years older than me. He says he's a casting director in LA, probably for porn for all I know. And I stayed with him for a weekend and I fell in love with him. And fast forward 3 years, I got married and
he's Tom?
He's the Tom.
Stop.
He's the Tom.
Stop it.
He's the Tom from MySpace. Not the creepy guy in the white beater shirt or whatever it was.
Just an undershirt. It's just a white undershirt, not that one.
But now I have my Tom from MySpace. And I ended up getting cut. I didn't make it onto the show, which is totally fine.
Found your husband.
But I found my husband. I went on a reality show and I found my husband.
And I love that you told everyone you were going like other places and you had a dream in a cardigan. Did you really have a cardigan on? Don't deny this.
No. I did not have a cardigan on. I had a shirt that I just bought from Forever 21, and I still have that shirt because I want to be able to fit back into it. That's like my dream outfit.
Okay. Oh, the outfit that, I mean, you found your partner. I mean, your spouse, your love of your life.
The one that I changed into outside of baggage claim after a 6-hour flight that I wanted him to think I looked hot in, and it looks like a maternity shirt. And why the hell I wore it, I have no idea.
Nailed it though. Nailed it. Because you're gorgeous for your size.
I'm gorgeous for my size. Thank you.
So what made you want to do Biggest Loser? What got you on that journey?
So my husband and I had our son in May of 2018. And it was about a year later. And I was sitting there on the couch one night scrolling through and I saw that there was an ad saying that Biggest Loser was casting. And I didn't know that they were coming back. And Tom and I were talking because he used to work in the reality business. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's coming back. And I'm like, I should apply. He's like, you should apply. And I'm like, I'm sitting here. I weigh more today than what I did, 13 months ago when I walked into that delivery room and had my son. Because I kind of just like let myself go because it's like everything else is going on. We have this business. We have this new baby. And like, I don't have time to think about going to work out. Because honestly, if I get 20 minutes of the day, I just want to take a poop alone. You know what I mean? Or I take a shower.
Can I lock my door?
Can I lock myself in a room with some chocolate? Can I do that? And the last thing I want to do is get my butt off the couch and go walk or run. Because I don't run. Well, I didn't. Now I do. But, it's just all these things. And I'm like, I deserve to like feel happy in my skin again. And at that point, we had been trying for a second baby. And what we had done with our fertility doctor before wasn't working again. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I need to lose some weight. And why not? And I'm like, I'm going to do this. And are you okay if I do this? He's like, I'm supportive. So I filled out the application online. And the next day at 9 a.m., I had a call from one of the casting directors.
That was a lot quicker than you reaching out on MySpace for the other reality
Listen,
show.
MySpace was so 20 years ago. No, I just,
Wow,
I had
the
this
next
missed call.
day?
The next morning I think it was actually 11 o'clock. It would have been like 8 o'clock LA time.
Yeah, but still.
And then we set up some Skype interviews. I had a couple of those. And then they gave me the call of like, hey, you have like less than a week and you're flying out and you might potentially be gone for 3 months. So plan your life accordingly.
Yeah, like figure out your life. What, for the infertility process that you went through, was it IVF?
So we did not do IVF. It was our last cycle before determining whether or not we were going to go
through an IUI?
Yeah, so we had not done IUI yet. We were doing a lot of the medications and
so you were just doing the hormone injections.
Yeah, so we were doing hormones and stuff and timing it and all of that because I have unexplained anovulation.
I did IVF for all my kids. I don't have so I get the process where a lot of my friends got to start with the hormones, then the IUIs, then if they did it, but I just had to go straight to IVF because I don't have fallopian tubes.
Oh my gosh.
Made me super thin. Do you know fallopian tubes are like this big? They didn't make me thin when they took them out, but it's fine. I was like, hey, am I going to lose weight when you guys take that part out? They're like, no.
No, you sneeze and you lose more than I think what the fallopian tubes weigh. But, oh, man.
But I understand like the journey of like the testing and the.
Well, we had tried for 3 years for my son. And then I went to one doctor and the doctor's like, you need to be prepared to never have a genetically linked child. And I'm like, what?
Wow. What a sentence.
It was the heaviest sentence I've ever heard in my life. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And 2 days later, we went on vacation for 10 days. And that's all I thought about was, what the heck? And there's so much guilt that you carry as a woman feeling like you're the reason you can't get pregnant. You're the reason that your husband's not going to have a child. And then on top of that, I was like, it's probably because of my weight. Lord knows if it's true or not.
You're just putting it back on you.
But you just put it back on yourself. And and we did I found a new doctor. And he's like, I'm going to get you pregnant in 6 months. I'm like, don't say things that you
get
can't.
Me hype. And first of all, are you physically going to be pregnant? Because that's inappropriate.
Right.
It's just like,
I don't care.
That's cute. Thank you. Flattering. But
he did. Like on month 6, he got me pregnant.
Hey.
He did.
He promised. He guaranteed.
And he delivered.
He delivered the shit out of that.
He did. And so that was our last month before we decided, because I don't think I'm not a good candidate for IUI, I guess. So we probably would have to do IVF if that's what I decided to do. But I was very much the believer of I was okay if we didn't have kids, but my husband really wanted kids. And so it's going to be a really hard conversation for us to have. But luckily it stuck. I'm really good at being pregnant, had no problems. Had a healthy kid.
You had a new business, pregnancy. You're living your life.
Living my best life. And then it was just like, boom. As soon as I stopped pumping and like breastfeeding, like the weight came on because I never stopped eating.
Yeah. When you're breastfeeding, you eat so much because of the calorie intake. I know. Gosh. I get that.
That was the best time of my life because I'm like, holy crap.
Breastfeeding's the coolest. I'm losing weight and I just ate like 4 meals straight to the face. And you don't really have heartburn like you do when you're pregnant. No. I get heartburn when I'm pregnant. But I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. Because I'm like, I'll take that plate of ravioli.
Absolutely.
I'm breastfeeding.
Right? I'll burn it by
you can also fry them right now. It's fine. Fried ravioli is fine.
Yeah. That sounds delicious.
But when you – that sounds great. But when you realized, of course, you're still eating the same like intake and you saw The Biggest Loser application, was it like, wait a second, I need to focus on me now? Was it kind of like a aha moment for you?
When I filled out the application, it was like, this will be cool if it happens, but I was not actually mentally fully prepared for the journey that I had just set in motion. And I don't think you can ever be fully prepared. It's just like having kids. Like you're never fully prepared until you just dive right in and then you learn on the job.
Yeah. And you're like, fuck, okay. So they're going to cry every 3 hours to eat.
This is a bell that I can't unring. All right.
So I have to be with them the whole time? Okay. Got it. Okay. Got it.
And so it was not, I just felt and I knew, listen, I need to make a change. And I knew that I didn't have the self-control and the discipline to be able to do it on my own at home because I am very susceptible to distractions. You know, I'm squirrel. And I will always find a reason to put things on the back burner if it comes to me. Like I always put my kid first, you know, and if my husband needs something, he comes next. And so I knew I needed that time away. And I actually had some family and friends who were like, do you really need to go away to do this? Why would you leave your son for potentially 12, 13 weeks?
Because you don't know.
You don't know. And I'm like, because at the end of the day, if I'm gone, every week that I'm gone may potentially add another year or 5
You're right.
to my life with my son.
So all the judgment you got from that.
I didn't get a whole lot, but there was some. And it hurt. It hurt a lot. But I'm like.
Because they're adding mom guilt to you.
There was so much mom guilt to it. But at the end of the day, like, I honestly, if there's something that I want to do, I just do it. Like, I don't care what you have to say. Like, I have a pretty good judge of my life. Like, I've made some pretty good decisions in my life, and I feel like I have a good read on this. So I'm going to do it anyways. I think it's going to be okay. And it was.
I think you're nailing it. Nailing it.
Thanks.
So the hardest part during auditions.
So during the audition, so once you get chosen to be a finalist, they fly you out to a hotel and you're in what's called sequester, where you're not allowed to see any of the other contestants that are being considered, and you're going to all this medical testing because they want to make sure that you're healthy and that you don't have any underlying conditions. And you pass people in the hallway, but you're not allowed to really even make eye contact or talk to them.
So insane.
So it's like you're constantly like judging. You're like, all right, that person looks a little overweight. Are they just here for a
Things
conference?
that you like hate about other people, and you're like, I don't know if it's a business conference or they're overweight.
Right. So what's really funny about this is I am observant. I'm a very observant person. I take notes. I have a great memory. So I started taking notes. Every time I went out of my room for something and I saw somebody, I would take a note, and then I'd come back to my room and I would research the crap out of them. Like, by the time the 12 of us were chosen.
Are you allowed to do this?
I don't fucking care. Like, this is what I do. I research and I do my homework. I want to know my competition.
How I roll. I need to compete with these fucking people.
So I still have my notes about everybody on my phone.
And were they the people? Were you right? Did you pick the right people when you passed them in the hallway?
Oh, absolutely. So I think there were 24 of us that were being considered, and I had 21 of the other 23. So there were 2 people that slipped by me. That's okay. But like, I would be like, tall football player. I think his name's Robert, because when I was at the medical testing, they called for Robert, and then he stood up. So yeah, that's Robert. And then I went back and I found out, oh, he used to play for this school, and his dad, I think, was a football player, and he has one son. I'm like, okay, he's not my competition right now. But then there's this one girl who's pretty, and I had her on my phone as model, and she ended up being my roommate, Megan, and she was a plus size model. Oh, you know Megan?
No, I'm saying you probably loved her.
Oh, I loved her.
You had all these positive notes on her.
I did, but
love her. Outfit's great.
But I'm like, she's gonna be my competition, because I'm like, she's around my age, she's super pretty, like, she seems pretty athletic, she's wearing a LA Dodgers hat, so she's probably from the West Coast. I'm like, yes, she grew up in like Las Vegas and Reno, and like all these things about her. And we go and we're like, hey, I'm like, I need to go to Target to get some things, because I was running out. Also as an excuse just to get out of that hotel for a little bit. Megan went on the van ride with me, and we make eye contact, and instantly it was #cahoots. Like, I'm like, you're my girl. Like, we are in this to win it. And it has carried us through to today.
Oh my gosh.
So it was
lifelong friends.
I made so many lifelong friends on this show, between the other contestants, the trainers, the production, like the people on the crew. If you gave me the opportunity to go back tomorrow, I'd have my bags packed tonight.
Yeah, that's amazing.
There we go.
See, you made the right decision. Spontaneous. Everything happened so quickly. It was like a whirlwind.
It was a whirlwind for everyone in my family, at work. But at the end of the day, it was exactly what I needed at the exact time I needed it.
And you had all the support.
Yeah.
That's really, I mean, you really need your husband, your son, right?
Yeah.
So young that it's like, it doesn't faze them.
Right.
Where you're like, you're supportive, and they're like, yeah. You're like, you're 1.5. You're fine. You'll be just fine.
Oh, he wanted nothing to do with me when I got home.
Well,
and so that was a little jarring. But he's like back to being like up my ass and watching me while I go to the bathroom. And like, we're back to normal.
Walking in, not giving a fuck what I'm doing, just bothering me every Tuesday. Yeah, okay, so you guys are back. That's good. Yeah. They say it like 400 times.
Yes.
And then jumping right back into work. I mean, I think as whatever kind of break you had to take, you had maternity leave. So that like break from work, jumping back into it probably wasn't hard.
After I had my son?
After your son, but then after the show or after everything you did?
So when you're on the show, if you lose the lowest percentage of weight loss on your team, and your team loses the weigh-in, you're automatically going home. There's no vote this year. So in previous seasons, there was like a vote.
Oh,
so the bottom two.
It's just numbers now.
Now it's just pure
That's
numbers.
Cool.
It's kind of cool. It's also very scary.
Yeah. Well,
so
a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. So if you go home and are eliminated, you have to then continue to try to do the weight loss at home because we all come back for a finale. So at some point, everybody, even the final 3 contestants who are there, go home for some weeks and work out, and then we go back for the finale. So when I came home, I had to continue working out. I didn't go back to work. I was still at home working out multiple hours a day until the finale. Leave. And then it just so happened, finale was right before Christmas. Yeah. I can say that. Don't come after me, USA Network. No spoilers here. So after the finale, we filmed that. Then it was Christmas. And so I actually just went back to work 3 weeks ago. So I'm still transitioning and trying to figure out what my daily routine looks like. And, it's up at 5, get my son and husband out the door by 6. I'm in the gym at 6:15 till 7:15. Then I come home, I get ready, and then I go off
creating
to the office.
Creating a habit.
It's all about creating the habit.
That's good. How do you feel?
Good.
Yeah.
I feel good.
So this experience, you've probably had a bunch of people reach out to you already. Maybe. You're famous. You're famous.
I am not
I have a famous chick right across from me. But what do you think the hardest part was and then the most rewarding part was? For me, just listening to your story, I think you just taking that leap, just doing it is fucking amazing and inspiring. Just being I'm going to do something for myself first because I take care of everyone. But for you, personally, mentally, physically, challenging in general, physically, right? But mentally, what was the hardest part of all this?
So what was mentally the hardest shifted as the longer I was gone. Mm-hmm. So for the first portion of while I was gone, it was really being away from my son and my husband and everything that I knew and not feeling like I was causing them harm by being away. And part of that came from I was very much a control freak. I had my hands in everybody's damn business, thinking I was the freaking matriarch of the family, and I was controlling everything. And so to be away and putting the trust in my husband and everyone else who can do it, are very capable, but I never would give them the opportunity to show that they're capable. It was very uncomfortable. And then as I was there longer, it was now how I'm starting to create these good habits and I'm getting happier and healthier. How do I maintain this when I go home? Because there's nothing scarier than getting yourself to a place where you feel really good and then going back into the same environment that got you to your fattest, unhealthiest spot. And I've changed, but I can't expect everybody else at home to have changed. And it's really good that everyone's supportive, but everybody has their own habits and the way they're used to doing things. And I can't expect them to change just because I have.
And that's a huge thing just in general with life. So when people get addicted to anything, whether it's food or something, going back to the community where you were, even though you have a great support group, but you can't expect people to change because you have. And it's accepting that. But I like the control freak thing. So you control you did also take notes on people you passed by in the hallway, which is a little bit insane. But do you think that has just helped you kind of live this experience has kind of helped you just let go a little bit? And that's freeing in itself.
Yeah, without giving away too much, being on this show and losing weight and getting to the root of why I got to the place I was, you start forgiving yourself a little bit more and taking control in your own personal self. I found that by controlling myself more and feeling like I was in control of my diet and my workouts and just my day-to-day attitude and the energy I'm putting out in the universe, I didn't have to control everything else around me because I felt control of myself. And I think when you don't feel like you're in control and you have kind of these spiraling tendencies inside you, you want to try to control everything else around you. And so it's this reverse of attitude that I was not expecting to have coming out of The Biggest Loser that I have now. And I really am glad I did it.
Eye-opening. So did this ever stem from childhood or any experience? Did you see this growing, this kind of habit of not taking care of yourself as much as other people or kind of putting other people before you from childhood? Or do you feel like it kind of started after
So I'm very much a people pleaser. I'm very much a peacekeeper. I have a strong voice and I am very blunt and straightforward, but I also try to do
Oh, you are? It's weird.
It's so weird, right? It's so
Such
weird.
a quiet person on the other end.
But I also try to do it with compassion.
Yeah.
Listen, I can be an asshole like the rest of us. And sometimes I'm unapologetically an asshole. But I really try to do it compassionately and from a place of love and wanting to care for other people. But I'm a child of divorce. My parents divorced when I was like 8 months old. And I have an older brother, and then I have 2 younger half siblings. And I don't know how I was conceived because my parents cannot really be in the same room with one another. Maybe today, because it's been 30 years and 30 plus years. But when you're a kid and you're going back and forth and you have parents with that dynamic, whatever's going on in one house, you don't report back to the other house what's going on because they're instantly going to be like, why are you upset? Why are you mad? And they're going to point fingers at the other household and they're going to land back in court. And so I lived in 2 very different households during the week and on the weekends. A lot on 2 lives. And I never could let them commingle and meet each other. And so in one household, it was kind of a free-for-all with food. There was no such thing as portions. And it was whatever you want. You could go get it. You could eat however much you want. And then I'd go to the other household, and it was very restricted with portions, but also no second helpings. And it was very controlled. And I didn't understand that difference. So when I would leave that household and go back to the other one, I would gorge myself and just eat. And so I never learned what it meant to be full and learned eating healthy. And that went on for a long time. But then fast forward to when I was in high school, family fell in some hard times. There were addiction problems. There was a point where family had to go away and like be in like halfway houses and all stuff. And I was home alone in my house. There was no food, and I was going to school and in parking lots, and I was just collecting loose change anywhere I could find it to go and buy a 6-inch Subway sub and try to make it last 2 or 3 days. And, it's just that I started essentially starving, and not intentionally, but it just from circumstances. And I lost like 40 pounds within a matter of 2 months. And then I started getting noticed like, oh, wow, like you look a lot better. Like now that you've lost weight. And it was this weird of like, maybe if I continue do this, people might find me more appealing. And so that kind of put me down a bad path. It didn't last long because I love food too much. But it was still this weird imprint on my self-consciousness and my self-awareness and my self-worth. And so
that was high school.
And that was high school.
The hardest times for children.
Right. And so it's like I'm living on my own essentially right now, and nobody knows it because I can't tell anybody because I'm embarrassed to like I have to keep up my grades, keep up the appearance.
Family's fine.
Everything's fine. But like shit's falling apart at home, and like my other family doesn't know about it because they didn't tell them, and like it was just a weird time. And so I've always just had kind of an unhealthy relationship with food, and I really like the taste of food. And
it's good now.
It's so good. And so it was just kind of a culmination of a lot of different factors. Plus then, I just stopped paying attention.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you kind of had a love-hate with food.
Love, hate, yes. More of a love. Because I'm very much... Listen, if you're not doing anything to change it, you have no right to bitch about it. Like if you are unhappy with the way you look because you might be overweight or you're overeating or whatever, like you can't complain about it. Like do something about it. And I would never
embrace it.
Or embrace it. Absolutely. I was never that person though that'd be like, oh my God, I'm just like so fat. Like I hate myself. Because I'd be like, you know what? I'm fat. But like I'm also a good person. I'm nice. I'm kind. I'm compassionate. Like I'm like, I have my shit together, I think. And like, I'm all these other things. It doesn't like, I was still like body positive and I would never shame anybody else. But I'm also like, all right, you complain about not having any money, let's say, but then you're going out on shopping sprees and like you're going on these vacations. Like I have no sympathy.
Going to a bar every night too.
You're going to a bar every night.
I was the same because I was a heavier high schooler, middle schooler. College, I lost a little bit of weight and stuff, but I was the same. Like I wasn't really bullied to the point where I didn't love my, you know what I mean? I loved who I was. But yes, sometimes when you're standing next to your best friends who are models.
Absolutely.
And you're like, oh, okay, maybe I should lose some weight. But now I look back and I was like, oh my gosh, how great I look.
Isn't that crazy? Like, I was always like
I saw my arm is in that picture.
And I'm like, I was a size 11, 13 or so in high school. And so I remember I'd go to the stores with my friends and they're like at the front of the rack. And I'm like,
they're like, you guys find a 4? And I'm like, I feel like there's no 13s here.
Right,
where's
the 13s?
There's usually one pair of them.
Do you think I can put a belt on and have my button undone and no one will notice?
Done that.
Guilty with a hair tie.
Guilty. Yeah. Like basically we're pregnant women. It foreshadowed my future. But yeah, you're right. And it's funny because it's funny when I look back at pictures of high school and I'm like, I looked great. But I was going through such a mental, should I lose weight? Should I not lose? Oh, okay. That
time in your life is so freaking hard. And I can't imagine being a high schooler now. Because, you know, when we were in high school, school could be a shitty day and people could be terrible to you, but you could go home and they could be shut off and you don't have to deal with it until the next day. But now you go home with social media, it's still in your freaking face and people are mean on the internet. Oh, yeah. I'm not prepared for that. So if anybody's listening and they want to be a real asshole to me on social media, don't do it. Just be nice.
Fuck off. Yeah,
go fuck yourself.
From Not a Great Whisperer, fuck off. Do not be mean. I totally get that. And I'm very big on the social media addiction of scrolling and kids' behaviors, just their demeanor changing, their self-worth changing just from like a scroll. And it just hurts my heart to watch that because they're so young and they don't understand how to understand what's going on. Yeah. Like I can't at our age, we're just like, maybe we should be a 4 eventually or something because our friends are. But that was all we'd have to go through. Shut it off, go home, live your life. But for them, it's a continuous reminder of what they think they need to be.
Yeah.
And then you have the trolls, the ones that are just like on there to fucking tell you look fat or to shame you or creepy fucking people online. It's a lot. I feel like you're right. It's just a total different, it's like times 100.
Right. And I know it's probably going to come up sometime over the next 10 weeks while the show is airing of, you know, how can you try to be, you know, body positive, but also be on a show where you're essentially standing up in a sports bra and shorts looking your most terrible self and they're profiting off of it, you know, because it's a TV show and it's at the end of the day, like this show, there is no fat shaming whatsoever. It is like going out of it and going into it and coming out of it, it's like you have the ability to be your best self, whatever that looks like. However you're comfortable in your skin, do that. And so I feel very proud of being on the show because I am very body positive. If that's what you want to, if you want to go run a marathon, go fucking run a marathon. Yeah. Good for you. I will never do it. I'm not doing it. You know, if you want to lose 100 pounds, good for you. Go do it. I will help support you in that. If you want to gain 20 pounds, no one should make you feel bad about being too thin. You know, like do you. And
so people say like, you can't be body positive being on a show about changing your body. Why? You're just going healthy.
Right. Listen, my purpose of going on there is trying to be the healthiest version of myself so I can get my ass off the couch and I can play with my son and I can run with him and I can dance with him in front of the TV at night because we do that every night now. And like, that's why I went on. And because I went on, I can now do those things. And I hopefully maybe might have a second child. And I'm hoping that, without giving spoiler alerts, I'm hoping that I can do that by changing my body, you know, biologically and hormonally and the chemistry of it, because I'm that bitch who would go 9 months without having her period. And I thought my first year of law school, I was fucking pregnant and I was going to have a baby in a toilet. Like, you know, I am that girl. Like if I'm,
which didn't happen.
Which did not happen.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. I did not have a baby in a toilet.
I get that. But your body was so out of whack.
Body's so out of whack. And I'm like, why? Listen, I tried for 3 years to have my son. Why am I not putting in the same amount of effort to stay here with him?
Oh, that's so right. And why do we not put enough time into our own bodies where we're like helping everybody else, but you're just like, this is where we live. We live in this body. Like, why are we not? And you're right. So before this pregnancy, I was very focused on my activity and everything. And I know how great it made me feel. So I know with IVF, you can't really like do a ton of workout. They think it'll fall out. I think the implant of the embryo. I don't know what the fuck they're like, don't swim, don't jump, don't work. And you're like, what? I was like, what is, what did they say? Oh, like light yoga. What is that?
I don't know.
Is it walking like to my bathroom? I don't know.
Is it putting on leggings? Because I do that every day. I'm
my
great
yoga
at light yoga.
But for me, I know how it makes me feel. And you're right. When you have a little human, you look at them and you're like, wait a second. I should probably focus a little bit on me so that we can make our little journey better. Right. And it's true. It's like you learn the lesson all the time. And I think people who say like you can't be body positive because you went on a show are dumb and don't comment on any of your shit or your episodes or any of that shit. I will cut you.
I will cut a bitch. Metaphorically, of course.
Just kidding. Just jokes. # kidding. But I think you're right. People are crazy angry in their own skin, so they're going to find ways to put you down for doing this, or as a mom, someone's going to give you mom guilt, or try to like kind of dig in on that. But I think it's awesome.
And my response to them would be like,
fuck off.
Screw you. Like, I'm doing what's best, what I think for myself and my family, and I would hope you would do the same for yourself.
I'm doing what makes me feel good. The end.
I feel so much better now. And I feel like I am, if not, I don't know. You know, you don't know what your journey in your life looks like. I might be my best self now, and hopefully I'm my best self again in 5 years and 10 years, because you're constantly having to reinvent yourself and grow. And I just know that I'm getting up off the couch more, and I am participating in life, and especially my son's life, more than I was before I went on the show. And that's what matters to me. That's the value I put on my life.
I love that. And I think what you've put your body through in general with food, with the kind of fending for yourself, figuring out how this food's going to last you 3 days or things like that. You've put your body in shock so many times where you're at a place where you're putting your body for feeling good and like working with you with food, where it's like a totally different mindset.
I'm finding a new like homeostasis.
Yep. And you're getting a balance. And for moms in general, women in general, with our hormones everywhere, it's like when you feel good, fuck everybody else. Like, fuck you. I feel good.
There's a girl in the show. God, I love her. Her name's Katarina. She's like, she's 23. Like, she has her whole life in front of her. She's like, I'm here for the hoe clothes. And I'm like, you go, Kat. Like, you go for those hoe clothes. I'm not going to be participating in that because no one deserves to see this in hoe clothes.
First of all, I think you do need to get your hoe clothes. And I'm taking that quote. Someone's putting that on a t-shirt.
Do it. I'm here for the hoe clothes. Listen, trademark that shit, Kat. You haven't.
Live your life, girl.
Live it.
Yeah, and that's exactly body positive. She wants to wear that midriff and that leather skirt. Live it.
Oh, my God. I would, if I was 23 and single, like, I'd probably wear the hoe clothes too. But I'm a mom and I don't have the self-confidence to wear anything remotely close to that. So I'll wear my like leather jeggings.
With my fake pockets that aren't real pockets.
That aren't real.
When my kids grab my fake pockets, I'm like, stop it. You can't put anything in there. They can't open. They're just, and my daughter's always just like, I don't understand.
Right, because they add more depth and dimension to my already wide hips. So yeah, I'm gonna go.
But
with
my back pocket's fine. It's just not my front.
Who even uses front pockets, anyways?
I mean, we probably would if we could. Be honest with you.
But that's the thing. Men get front pockets down to their knees, and we get them for our 2 front fingers. Like, that's all we can shove in our front pockets. We need some pocket equality up in this place.
Phones don't fit in there. Fashion designers who are listening, please get us some pockets. Please do something for us. And I think shout out to Kat. Shout out to Kat. We want to be in them hoe clothes too. Well, through you. We'll live through you. But I think that's a perfect how you feel, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you look. I mean, you are beautiful, whatever size you'd like to be. But you're beautiful. And I mean, your husband knows.
Well, it's
top model.
Can we listen? Like, I'm still like, I'm one of those people, I can't take a compliment for the life of me. And Bob Harper on the show actually gets on my case about that. So that's not a spoiler, but it's like what to look for.
I can't take a compliment.
I can't take a compliment.
Let just see in me. You're welcome. Here's my outline.
Right. But it's, it's one of those things. Like, are you okay? Can you take compliments?
Now I can.
How did you get to that point? I'm still working on it by just saying thank you.
Fucking cool.
I know you're fucking cool. I know I'm fucking cool.
Well, because I also think it's not being arrogant when you're like, thank you. I actually strive to like push out good energy or look like my headshots.
I blame Kevin.
Kevin, BK and Creative. We hate you for making us look so beautiful.
He did our headshots. They're freaking amazing.
I catfish everybody because they're like, oh my God, great picture. And then they see me and they're like, oh, Katie?
Is that
Question. Is that you? That's you, right?
That's you.
No, that's me. But I've embraced the energy I give off. I want the people around me to give off that energy. I think it's just as you get older and that quality over quantity thing.
Yeah. One of my fears is for people to look at me like I have an ego or like I'm egotistical or I'm vain. Like I don't want to ever be perceived as vain. So by accepting a compliment, it makes me feel like I'm saying, oh yeah, I know I'm pretty. Because like that's
you're just saying thank you. And it's like, thanks for noticing because I actually strive to give you that compassion or energy.
Yeah.
And I'm beautiful. Thank you. Bye-bye. Look at my eyes. But you're awesome, right? You're a mom. You fucking run a business. You fucking run a business. You don't run a business. You do things for yourself, and it shows women that they can put themselves first and still thrive.
Yeah.
I think just in general, that's an amazing message. So you're going to get compliments, and then you're going to get trolls that are trying to put you down. But I think you should always accept a compliment from a genuine person, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you look great today. Like what?
You look really good for your size.
For your size. Wow, you don't look tired today. Yesterday you looked really tired. And then
God,
you're
it's like. Did you do something different? Like, are you just really tired today? No, I didn't put my face on, and I haven't washed my hair in 4 days. Get off my jock.
First of all, which is better for your hair?
I'm a twice a week shampooer.
Yeah, my sister's a hairstylist. She's like, you don't have to wash your hair all the time. Live your life. And I just think people need to stop being so judgy.
Yeah.
I give a lot of compliments out because I like genuine ones. I'm not gonna go out of my way to be like.
But I feel like, but I'm that person though. Like if I'm in the grocery store and I see somebody I think is beautiful, or like my favorite is like moms that are having a freaking hard time with their kid. I would be like, you know what? You are not alone. Like. Keep on keeping on, girlfriend. Like I will say that, and they'll be like, "Thank you." And if I'm in that situation, and your kid is losing his shit in the shopping cart,
like, I get it,
and you're like, "I'm so sorry," but if they're like, "Girl, we've all been there," like I got you.
I know.
It makes you feel like, oh my God, I'm not alone, and I'm not the worst parent in the entire world.
I know, and you feel good about that.
It does. Yeah.
Cheerleaders.
So if you notice something, give people the freaking compliment.
Like when I like someone's hair, or like a hat, or random scarves in Florida, which are great. But if I like them, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I love that. And you do like change someone's resting bitch face.
Absolutely. Because
they're looking at you like a bitch, and then they're just like, oh, wait, thank you.
And hopefully they smile, they release some dopamine, and like they're just like in a better mood.
Yeah, we're just changing the world. Thank you.
One compliment at a time.
Here's not a spoiler alert. I don't take compliments well. So let's see. So biggest challenge, of course, being away. Other than gratitude from this experience, how you would explain this to a complete stranger that has no idea about what The Biggest Loser is about.
So The Biggest Loser is about 12 individuals who are on the journey to get themselves in a better position mentally, physically, emotionally. And it is a competition, and there are 2 teams, red team and blue team. And you compete as a team. And you do a challenge every week together where it's some sort of physical activity, and you weigh in as a team. So everybody hopefully pulls their weight, and if so, you lose a greater percentage of weight loss that week than the other team. Everyone on your team is safe. The team that loses, the person with the lowest percentage of body weight loss that week automatically goes home.
And you become everybody's cheerleader because you're pushing each other.
Everybody's cheerleader. And, I'm a big fan of Big Brother. I love reality shows. My husband was in reality TV, so like we're used to being, viewers of reality television. And so I always thought it was silly and how close people would say they are after being on shows like this. But when you are in a situation where you are going through some of your toughest days, working out, being away from your family, trying to eat right, trying to get to the root of like some of why you're like screwed up in the head a little bit, what got you there, you lean on the people who are beside you because you don't have your support system from home. The people you're competing against, your competitors are also your closest best friends. And when you leave that environment, you feel very isolated because you go back home and nobody really can grasp fully what you just went through except for the people you were in with. And it gave me a new respect for people who are deployed, who go away from their family, who are experiencing some traumatic things. And when they come back, they feel like disconnected because they've been so removed and in such a different world. And that's how I kind of felt, is that I was gone. I didn't know that a hurricane hit the Bahamas. Like, had no idea. I had no idea that our president was under impeachment investigations. Like, you are isolated because you don't have your phone or anything like that. And so all you have to do is talk to these other people and get to know them, and you live with them and you're with them 24/7 and you're going through the same things. And it's just,
That's awesome.
I now have 11 new additional family members.
I love that. Oh, yeah, because you guys went through a crazy experience together.
And it's on national television because we're crazy.
Yes.
We approved and voluntarily went on a show and got in spandex at our fattest point and subjected ourselves to public ridicule for the betterment of ourselves. You got to be a little crazy to sign up for that.
Oh, yeah, but I love it. It's so inspiring. I love it. So let's go over listeners, of course. Biggest Loser. This will be launched the Monday after the first episode. So it's on USA.
It's on USA Network. It is on Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And 8 Central. And yeah, I hope they can watch the journey. If they don't relate to me because I'm a shit show, there are other shit shows that you probably can relate to.
You'll relate
I love
to
them
someone.
all.
One shit show you will relate to.
From one shit show to another.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
There are so many different personalities and stories that are very relatable. I mean, Kimmy, she's on the show. She's a 19-year breast cancer survivor. And she has the heart of gold. She's that Southern Kentucky woman. And I have seen that woman's butt crack more times than I would hope to. She's always flashing us. And I don't know if it's going to make the show, but, it's just,
I hope it does.
I hope it does because she has a really great butt crack.
Shout out to Kimmy.
Shout out to Kimmy D in Tennessee.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's just,
it's,
there's a single dad who wants to get better for his daughter. And there's, a mom who just went through divorce and she was married to a NFL player and she was always taking care of his career, but she was a flight nurse. And, there's just so many different real life shit. And I think that's what this season is going to be about is it's not about fat shaming and trying to get in someone's face and degrade them like, that people assume would happen on a show like this. Because it's all about the weight loss. No, it's all about the stories and seeing the transformation from beginning to middle to end. And I think people are going to fall in love with the contestants more than what you would anticipate you would.
Yeah. And it's mind body, right? It's not just the physical. It's watching you guys grow just individually, mentally.
We're doing therapy sessions with Bob, the host, and we're exposing some of our deepest vulnerabilities. And you can't do anything but respect someone trying to better themselves. Yeah, and if that sparks someone else to try to do the same, then our job's done.
I love this. I'm so excited that you've been on the show. And your journey is really inspiring. It's real. And it comes genuinely from your heart with a couple of F-bombs. And that makes it even better.
I live life authentically with fucks.
Authentic as fuck. So you'll find Kristi McCart on Not a Great Whisperer, Instagram, at katyray.com, at The Real K Ray Cray. And you can find her on The Biggest Loser. We will have all of that information on this episode.
Find me on Instagram.
Wait. Yes, find
Kristi with the good hair _ between each word.
I can't even
Bob Harper gave me that moniker.
Oh my gosh. That is your Instagram?
That's Kristi with the good hair.
I love it. Kristi with an I.
Kristi with an I.
As well.
Yeah.
You do have the good hair though, girl.
Oh, listen. When you after having the baby, I don't know if did you lose hair after your first two?
Well, I actually gained hair first because of my hormone injections.
Oh my gosh.
And then I lost hair and I was like, that's weird. But your hair just became amazing?
No, my hair, I've always had pretty decent hair. I lost it after my son and then no spoiler alerts, but with weight loss and
nutrients and everything.
Nutrients, but also correcting my hormones. I have had this is probably a third of what my hair is.
Shit of it. That's awesome.
Oh no, my hair is usually 2/3 the size, bigger.
Well, that's great.
My ponytail is so tiny. I'm going through a little bit of identity crisis right now.
Kristi's going through it about her hair, and we're gonna let her do that.
This has been a full circle. I started out so happy, and now I'm so sad. So hashtag if there's any hair product sponsorships, I'm here. I might not be at my best right now. Give me some months.
She is. Don't let her say that. Yes, hair sponsorship she's ready for. All hairstylists out there, send your products. Kristi McCart, you are amazing. I hope the best during this season. No spoiler alerts. And
we don't have enough money to fend off those
after
lawsuits.
the season's after the season's over, let's reconvene and chat about it. And we'll do another episode for all the viewers.
We'll dish on all the dishes. We'll serve it on a hot
Thank you for joining us
plate.
at BK and Creative in Ybor. And you'll be out with Morty's music. Thanks, Kristi.
Bye.